Hey, what's going on, guys? It's FPL Yusuf here, and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be going over a Game Week 12 wildcard draft as we draw closer towards the end of the international break and closer to the start of Game Week 12. So I'm going to go over my current draft that I'd be using if I was on wildcard. And just a spoiler alert, there is no Erling Haaland in this one. So a lot to talk about, a lot to go over. So let's just get right into this video. Okay, welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for being here today with me on my YouTube channel for another video. Before we get into this one, if you wouldn't mind dropping a thumbs up and subscribing down below, it would be greatly appreciated. So like I said, this is going to be a Game Week 12 wildcard draft, and spoiler, there is no Erling Haaland in it. Now, before I actually get into the draft, I mean, you guys can see it on screen, I just want to say that I don't necessarily think that there is a right or wrong answer as to whether or not you should own or sell Erling Haaland. I think both have their benefits, both has their cons. You know, the pros for it are, as you can see in this team here on screen, the money spreads really well. Now, obviously, the difference is you're probably going to have either Haaland or you're going to have Salah. It's going to be one or the other. And the difference between them is about 2.5 million, depending on price rises. So that money does go a long way, as we'll get into throughout this squad. Obviously, in the same breath, going without Erling Haaland, you do lose arguably the best FPL asset in the game, arguably the most explosive in the game, the one who's probably going to finish top goal scorer. So there are risks with it. There are rewards to it as well. It's not as clear cut as just saying Haaland's better than Salah, Salah's better than Haaland. I think, you know, everyone's going to have their own opinions and own reasons as to why they want to keep him or why they want to sell him. So just bear that in mind as we go through this team. So let's start off with the goalkeeper. So I've gone with David Raya on my wild card. Now, I know the Arsenal defense hasn't been great, and they have been, you know, they haven't kept a clean sheet for I think it's about 5, 6, 7 weeks. Something like it's been a while since Arsenal have got a clean sheet. However, they have had some tough fixtures along the way. I do, especially looking forward, maybe not in the immediate term, but I do think going forward, you know, especially if you're using the wild card now, this is probably going to need to hold you till after the new year. So you're probably going to be looking at game week 20, 21, 22 and beyond. So you kind of just want to keep who, you know is going to play 90 minutes every game. What you don't want to do is go for like a Sanchez, you know, and a Jorgensen at Chelsea, or, you know, Verbruggen and maybe Jason Stewart at Brighton. You know, you never know, where you put them in for the Christmas period coming up and then you've got a rotation risk with a keeper. That is just the last thing you want. So David Raya, for me, just guaranteed to play every single minute of every single Premier League game, providing he's fit. Arsenal, I do expect to get back on the clean sheet grind, and I do think that they will start churning them out soon. And there is a question to be made for this draft about double Arsenal defence, but I'm going to get onto that in a little while when we talk about the actual defenders themselves. And the backup goalkeeper is Fabianski. He's just a 4 million bulk standard keeper. Right now, he's playing for West Ham. Do I think, you know, we could guarantee say he's going to play for the rest of the season? Maybe not, because, you know, obviously Areola's come in at times. So yeah, I just think for me, he's not really too much to talk about him. He's just the only 4 million keeper that's playing, really. So that's kind of why he's here. But most weeks, you're probably going to want to start David Raya. Okay, so moving on to the defense. Now, we have got a double up in defense, and it is a double up of Liverpool. So I've got Konate and I've got Van Dijk. Now, obviously, they've got a great fixture this week against Southampton away. Southampton are kind of like the money fixture at the moment. That's the one that everyone wants to target. After this, they do have a few little tricky games. You know, they've got Newcastle along the way. They've got Man City, which is obviously the big one. But beyond that, we go to sort of game week 16, 17, 18 and beyond. I think having a double Liverpool defense is going to be the way forward. I think most people will probably end up, because it's so hard to pick a second Liverpool midfielder, you know, or attacker. It's Mo Salah and one, but the and one is very difficult to rely on for minutes. You know, maybe Jota, maybe that's Jota when he comes back in fitness. But you know, we've seen Diaz play the number 9, Gakpo can play there, Darwin can play there. So there's a lot of rotation. Whereas I think Konate and Van Dijk in particular are just, they're almost like guaranteed for minutes. You know, Van Dijk in particular will play every single minute that he's fit. And I just don't see a reason why Konate would be benched either. So yeah, for me, I've gone for a double Liverpool defense. What I touched on earlier about you could potentially move Gabriel to Van Dijk and go for a double Arsenal defense, but I just think Liverpool have looked maybe a little bit more assured defensively this season. And I think with the fixtures they've got coming up as well, I do back them to maybe just keep 1 or 2 clean sheets more than Arsenal. It is worth me saying this team is also budget dependent. So, you know, some of you guys watching this may be able to afford this team, some may not. Some might be able to afford more and, you know, spread the money around even better. It all depends on budget. So that's why I've gone for both of them. Konate was just a cheat way into the Liverpool defense, and Van Dijk, for me, coming into the Christmas period, just the security of minutes, just worth paying the extra price for him. Now we move on to the other 3, and these 3 are probably going to be ones that you rotate with each other. So we'll start with Van Dijk first. Brighton from game week 12 have just got fantastic fixtures. Now, with them, I think it's hard because, you know, you've got the likes of Lewis Dunk there, you've got Kadioglu, Igor, you know, Estupinian. There's a lot of defenders that Brighton have. I think the hard part for them is picking who's going to play. And like I said, Brighton have got a squad where they kind of have 2 players per position. So coming up over the Christmas when they're playing weekend, midweek, weekend, you could see a lot of rotation there, which is why for me, Van Heck, I just think he's just the best option for Brighton now. Before I would have said Lewis Dunk, but because of how well Brighton played against Man City and having Eagle as a left-sided centre-back who's left-footed, I do think that could play a part in Dunk coming back in, maybe not getting all the minutes that we'd expect. So for me, yeah, Van Heck, 4.5 million, someone who you can rotate out with. I just think he, for me, is the standout Brighton pick. Ray and Nori, we touched on him last week in the transfer targets video, came in for us, got us a clean sheet last week, which I think a lot of people probably weren't expecting. I think more people probably bought Nori in for his offensive qualities, but Wolves will pick up the odd clean sheet here and there, but it's just how good he is going forward and the positions he picks up as well. So yeah, if you've managed to jump on him at sort of 4.5, even 4.6, you've done quite well. Once he starts getting a little bit higher, maybe you could argue the upside isn't just there as much because they don't keep any clean sheets. But like I said, he's going to be a player that you're going to be rotating a lot of the time anyway. So I wouldn't really think too much about him. And finally, I did want to cover the Manchester United defence. Now, I'm a little bit biased towards Mazraoui because I've had him for most of the season, and every time he's played, he's actually done quite well, and he's very, very good for bonus points as well, which is the other key point that I want to make on him. Now, there's a lot of talk about Man United are probably going to end up playing a 3-back under Ruben, and which means is that going to make one place for either Mazraoui or Dalot? I think the reason why for me I like him a little bit more is I think he's just better, I think he's just more of a solid player all round. Obviously Dalot's probably better going forward, but I think Mazraoui offers a little bit more than Dalot does. And like I said, for bonus points, he's just like a magnet as well. So I've got him in my team, which is why I'm going to keep him. The Man United one is very tricky to sort of pick up on wildcard because none of us are sure at the moment what that lineup's going to look like. We can hope and we can try and guess and infuriate between how many players are coming back from international break, who's looking like in form, who's not. But the truth is we won't know until that first game after game week 12. So yeah, for me, I'll put Mazraoui, but it could be any Manchester United defender. Okay, moving on to the midfield now. I'm going to stick with the Man United theme, and I have got Bruno Fernandes in here. It is worth saying, though, that Bruno, I think, for me, has got 2 good fixtures, game week 12 and game week 13. He then obviously goes to play Arsenal in game week 14. He has Man City in game week 16. So I am looking at him as a sort of short-term punt. The same way I'd be looking, if you can't afford a Bruno in this team, you could go for an Mbeumo, but it'd be the same thing. He's game week 13, game week 14, but after that, I'd probably want to get rid of him. So Bruno is someone that he's in there for now. Maybe there's ways you could tweak this team to move, Van Dijk down to someone else and move Bruno up to Salah to Saka, excuse me. But the problem is that there's not really that many good mid-price midfielders that are going well at the moment. Pedro Neto's an option. You could save yourself 2 million, but then what are you going to do with that money is the question that I would ask. Chelsea have got great fixtures. We'll come on to Cole Palmer in a second, but for me, I think Bruno will have good success. I think they'll hit the ground running. I think him, he's Portuguese. He's going to be playing behind the striker. I think he will have success. I just wonder if after these next 2 or 3 games, if he's an option for FPL, or maybe he's just a short-term punt. And if you've got transfers in the bank, you can just swap him out after. But somebody who is a long-term punt is Cole Palmer. Now, Chelsea have got, in my opinion, the best fixtures up until about game week 18, game week 19. So you've got him for a good 7-8 weeks. For me, I think he is, I don't want to say any player is essential, but I think he's as close to that for this run as you can get, just because of the fixtures, because of how explosive Cole Palmer is, because of the fact he's going to be involved in whatever Chelsea are doing. There's so many reasons to like him, so much upside, and I think if you haven't got him now and you're looking at his price tag and thinking, is he worth it? Don't even hesitate about that. Just put him in your team if you're on wildcard. He has to be in there. Salah, another player who, again, just has to be in this team, especially without Erling Haaland. You're going to need someone with firepower, and Salah's probably the closest thing to it now. This season in particular, his bonus points have been off the charts. Like he's playing so well. He's getting his shots on target. He's got good underlying numbers, so he's racking him up the bonus points. If he scores, most times he comes away with 3 extra bonus points, which, if you've got him captain, that's an extra 6 points. You do that every single week. Eventually, it's going to start to rack up. Liverpool have got a little bit of a mixed bag over the next few weeks. Obviously, they've got Southampton this week, which is great. A little bit of a few tricky ones, like I said before, Man City, Newcastle in there. But after that, their run is just so good. And I think Salah's someone, if you are bringing in a wildcard now, you're probably going to want to hold until game week 20, game week 22, somewhere around that mark anyway, before you even think about switching him out. So yeah, Mo Salah for me, getting to that point of being a little expensive, but for what his output is, I would just have him in that team for that reason. Now, a little bit of a differential pick I've gone for here is Anthony Gordon. He's someone that I'm looking to bring in on my main team as well this week as part of a -4. I think that Newcastle are starting to just find a little bit of form now, and I think with the next few fixtures they've got coming up, in particular West Ham this weekend, I think that there could be opportunity for Gordon and Isak, who we're going to come on to a bit later, to really start hitting the ground running and really start to churn up those FPL points. So I think FPL is partly about reacting to things and players who are on good run of form, but also it's part about jumping on before they hit that form. And I think Gordon hasn't actually hit that side yet. Within the fixtures that Newcastle have got coming up, there's no reason why he can't go on a bit of a run. So yeah, if you're out there, you've got a wild card. Like I said, that middle bracket of midfielders isn't really that great anyway. So for me, I like him. He's probably going to play most parts in 90 minutes. Even if he gets moved over to the right hand side, he will still be on the pitch, which is the main thing. And if Isak's not on the pitch, he is on penalties. So yeah, I think there's a big upside with Anthony Gordon. So I put him in here. Coming to 7.2 million, I think he'll be a really reliable asset over the next few weeks. Last up in the midfield is Morgan Rogers. Not really too much to talk about. It's only depending on whether you want to rotate or switch around. For me, just value for money, he is the best. You could, this team has got 1.1 million in the bank, so you could theoretically move him up to someone like Pedro Neto, but then you're going to give yourself a benching headache every week with the forward line that we're about to get onto now. And the front three who are going to counteract, or hopefully try and counteract Erling Haaland. I think most people probably have 2 out of the 3 of these. It's Cunha, Isak, and João Pedro. Now, João Pedro is in there for budget reasons. I think a lot of us should probably dampen our expectations with João Pedro. Obviously, he come off the bench against Man City, had a great game, goal and assist after just coming back from the injury, which is fantastic. He's probably their first choice penalty taker and probably will start most games. I just think if you're buying him to have someone who's guaranteed themselves over the Christmas period, I don't think he's your man. I think that there will be times that he will be brought off early, times that maybe even odd games he might be rested, because when he was out, Ruta was still playing well. But I think João Pedro, for me, for the budget, for what he offers you on penalties, and probably will be playing in the number 10, the manager for Brighton, Herzl, he's been so complimentary of João Pedro and everything he does, his leadership, his ability. So yeah, I do like him. I think if you're looking over the sort of next 7, 8, 9 games, you're probably looking at sort of a 6, 7 game start out of that. I would say so. So yeah, for me, I think he's a fine choice. And if you are on wild card and you want to make that money spread a little bit more, then his price tag is just perfect for that. Matthias Cunha is somebody who's spoken about, quite a lot and quite heavily over the last few weeks. And, he's showing why, another 12 double-digit point haul, 12 points over the weekend, goal and assist. Maybe a little bit fortunate on some parts, but, that's what he does. And he's so good for bonus points as well. So I won't go too much into him. There are other options you could look at. You could look at, Danny Welbeck and Evan Nilsson from Bournemouth. Dare I say Chris Wood, the man who's absolutely destroyed my rank this year. So there are other options that you could look at. But I think for me, for the price he is and for what he offers you, and also for Wolves' run as well, I think Cunha has to be in this team. And the final striker up front is Alexander Isak, which will be a double up on Newcastle. Like I said with Anthony Gordon, I do think that the attack in particular have got a good chance to sort of get returns in these next coming weeks. And I think, West Ham obviously aren't playing that well. Isak is looking in very good form. So for me, especially because we haven't got Erling Haaland, we need someone there. But also the thing that Isak does is if you ever do get to the point of wanting to move back to Haaland, the gap between Isak back to Haaland is a lot smaller than trying to move from a João Pedro or a Cunha or a Chris Wood up to Erling Haaland. So you may actually, depending on if you got money in the bank or not, you may actually be able to make that move back to Haaland in one go if you really wanted to. So yeah, that's going to be my wild card team. See, like I said, there's no Haaland on it. I just think it's not so much a question of do I doubt Haaland as a player. It's more what can the extra budget by not having him do and spread around the team. So yeah, that is my FPL Game Week 12 wildcard draft. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. We are nearly back. We're nearly back at the weekend for the Game Week 12 deadline. I will be back on Friday with the final team selection video. I have made one transfer already, which I put up on my Twitter, as I've moved Rico Lewis out and I've brought in Konate. I missed the Konate price rise, but I did catch, or hopefully will catch, the drop that Rico Lewis is predicted to have before the deadline starts. There is a possibility of me taking a -8 this week with a few other transfers, but I will talk about it more on Friday in my final team selection video. For any early news, follow me on my Twitter account. I'll leave the link in the description down below. That's where I tweet out everything that I'm looking to do, transfer-wise, team selection-wise, and all that good stuff. But like I said, if you have enjoyed it, don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below, and I'll catch you guys next time.